very fun to share.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get it around.
It's contagious. We can change the joy. Is contagious. I will enjoy it again.
I have no doubt.
That's okay though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's call to order this meeting of the Legislative Committee, City of Salem for February 20th, 2026. It's a Friday. I am Julie Hoy, the mayor.
Vanessa Nordyke.
Deanna Gwen.
Linda Nishioka.
Awesome. Do we want to introduce staff or?
Let's just roll along. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about.
We do actually have Dr. Parker please testimony.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm sorry. Is Dr. Brown supposed to be in also?
So we've had late notice. Councilor Nishioka is sitting in for Councilor Brown.
Perfect. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Yes, we have public testimony, right?
We do. When we come forward.
You want me to hear?
I understand.
Sure.
Is the camera there?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, there you are.
Really, really small.
I just want to give a brief background on why the climate change issue is going to impact Salem so heavily and why the revenues from the Climate Super Fund are going to be needed for every city and county in Oregon. In 1988, James Hansen testified before Congress. I was working for the Department of Energy, and he said that the 90s were going to be the warmest decade on record. And we were kind of dismissive of that. We thought, well, you know, it's a hot summer in DC, and the 90s were the warmest decade on record for the planet. Then the 2000s, the warmest decade on the planet. Then 2010s, the warmest decade on the planet. Then in 2020, we had the Labor Day fires, and those were not a normal fire. It burned 500-year-old trees that had never been logged. So this was not an area that humans had impacted. And it was a completely different kind of wind and weather. And then in Boulder, Colorado, they had a fire that wiped out much of the Boulder, not much, but a lot of Boulder. And it was another one of these giant windstorms. And like we saw on Labor Day. And then the Altadena fire, the Eaton fire, that's really close to where I grew up. And that's just a regular neighborhood. It's not a wildfire. It's not a wildfire urban interface. And that's what we're facing. We're facing that and atmospheric rivers and droughts, and the lands in Oregon, the farmlands and the forests are going to be severely impacted. And there's not money to pay for it. The city doesn't have money to pay for it. The county doesn't have money to pay for it. The state doesn't have money. And the federal government's running a $39 trillion debt. So if we don't go to the people who caused this, they knew they were causing it. I worked for the Department of Energy and started working on climate change in 1990. They knew about it. There were international agreements in 1992 that George Herbert Walker Bush signed. And this is completely fair. It's completely workable. And in my testimony, I talk about why it's not going to raise fuel prices in Oregon. It cannot. It's categorically impossible. I'm a professional economist with 40 years experience, but in the hearing, Professor Stiglitz testified, and he's a Nobel-winning economist. And he said it cannot raise prices because it's in the past. It assesses based on past emissions, and that's a fixed cost if it happens. So this may not work out, but it's worth roughly $1 million for the state to try to find out if it can get these monies from the fossil fuel companies. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Phil. I had a question.
Sure.
Is there a specific bill that you're drawing our attention to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's in the packet. It's 1541-A.
Thank you.
Yes, Senate bill. Thank you for asking.
Let's start Councilor Nishioka.
Councilor Nishioka, go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to ask the same question if it was Senate Bill 1541. And as I understand it, that one is not on the list of ours. So I don't know if we would need to be considering adding it.
Councilor Nishioka, we amended the agenda. I don't remember if it was Wednesday. We added that bill and some other materials to the packet. So it is actually on the agenda for today.
Well, that helps me understand why I didn't have that because I haven't gone in today to look at that packet. So I'll open it up on my other screen. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to our federal update. Is our Mark Terry there?
We have Terry today.
Okay.
Hello. Hello, how are you? Pleased to be with you today. We'll keep it very brief because I know you have a full agenda. Really just wanted to report to you
Let me guess,
that
this is gonna start with things have been very strange.
you know, we're moving forward, but the more important thing is the $500,000 for energy redundancy at the low-income housing facilities that we own and maintain. Has been approved by Congress, signed by the president, and is now available to the city, or rather, it will be available in a few months. And that is really the main thing I wanted to say. We're also working with Courtney and your staff to ensure that we're getting projects ready for the next round of appropriations, and I'm sure that will be coming to you in due time. That's really the agenda for me today. I just wanted to put that in front of you, and we'll let you save some time for the rest of your agenda.
Anybody have any questions for Terry? Okay. Moving on then.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's too brief, Terry. I was supposed to be
Take it-
brief. Now that's way
Take it
brief.
away, Justin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council and staff. Good to see everybody. I'll try to be as brief as possible so we can get into the meat of the meeting, which is quite a few policy bills. Today, there is a deadline. You must have a work session posted in the second chamber. So we'll see a lot more things kind of die out after today. One of the final deadlines is next week, Thursday, February 26th, for a work session in the second chamber of origin. And then, as everybody knows, the constitutional sine die is Sunday, March 8th. So right around the corner. As of 2026, as of today, we had 289 bills last week. We got 300 bills this week. 105 bills have been assigned to our staff here in Salem. So we continue on this massive effort to cram things in. Our 2026 funding priorities, the $2.75 million for Safe, Clean, and Healthy Capital City, as well as the $1.35 million for McNary Field resiliency and emergency capabilities within that terminal master plan. The mayor did an excellent job testifying last Friday. Again, one of those things, you got to go through the motions. It's kind of tricky because you got 2 minutes and you're there with everybody and everything. But we've done that. We did the legwork on that. We continue to fight within the caucus and make sure that our members of the caucus, our Salem delegation, have the right messaging and are continuing to push for that. So I met with Representative Anderson, had a conversation, also had a good conversation with Senator Patterson as well.
Can we celebrate all the different letters of support that we
Yes, we should absolutely do this right now. Why don't you mention it?
Well, I think there were about 5 or 6 letters we got for the Salem Willamette Valley Airport project. We heard from Travel Salem. I think the chamber also submitted, and I want to imagine there were a couple others that are not coming to mind.
Nikki will text us and we'll let us know right now.
And then on the Safe, Clean, and Healthy, we had a wide range of support. We had a letter of support from the police chief, from the fire chief. I think we also had something from Main Street Organization, and I think TJ Sullivan also provided some testimony. There were a couple others that I'm not coming to mind, but we've just had such a wealth of support coming forward for these priorities, including the representatives that are advancing them for us. So very good.
Yeah, I think everything's really positive. I mean, I think people understand our need. They understand where we're at. It's just a matter of, does the legislature as a body see that as true priorities, and are these going to get done? Again, you heard me talk a little bit last week about some other big funding priorities that the state is looking at. So that being said, we're going to continue to remain optimistic as possible. We've got several bills, which you guys will see. I want to just highlight a couple real quick, and we'll go into depth in those when I kick it over to Courtney here in a minute. House Bill 4094, the compensation for unused time off. I know that's given some heartburn to folks around this table. Second, the Climate Super Fund, which we just heard public testimony about. We'll talk about that in depth. And then we've got a whole suite, about 10 bills that deal with immigration, which Counselor Brown, last week brought those all up. So Courtney has put those into a memo. I'll let her tick away at that here once we get into that portion of the agenda. We've got some bill status of bills that are advancing to you guys on the 23rd. That's the water professionals appreciation. That's affordable housing, 4036. That's autonomous vehicles, which failed to meet a deadline on February 9th. Those are the two OGEC bills, Oregon Governmental Ethics Committee, Food and Beverage and Public Meetings. And then another affordable housing piece of legislation, 1567, which is sitting down in Ways and Means. So with that, I mentioned that, yeah, I'm sorry.
Point of
Counselor.
clarification, what was the fate of the OGEC bills?
They're still alive. So one's
Okay.
awaiting a second reading in the House, and then the other one about public meetings has been moved down to Ways and Means.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Courtney, did I miss anything? Perfect. What's advanced? Madam Mayor, there's my brief update.
It's brilliant.
It's nowhere brief as Terry's, but
No.
it's somewhat brief.
Does anyone have any questions?
Are they gonna walk out today?
You know, we all read the paper this morning and we saw it happen 2 days ago. Now they came back. They're doing some stuff, but this is going to be a sticky wicket. And again, outside just general political overview, outside of the optics, I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't know. And in talking with Josh this morning, I mean, I think one, if you're a Republican in Oregon, you already face a math problem. There's about 200,000 plus less folks. There's a huge amount of non-affiliated voters, the 1.13 million or whatever it is nowadays. That being said, you have to have a lot of those non-affiliateds break to the right if you're going to accomplish anything statewide in Oregon, meaning statewide elected offices, governor's office, secretary of state,
Right.
treasurer, etc. Now, is it impossible? No, but just looking at the history of mid-presidential elections, it's always kind of a referendum, even in state level elections, on what's going on with the federal administration.
Yep.
And I really think with all of the things that are going on, as Terry calls it, everything's strange right now. I really think it's going to be a referendum on the Trump administration, especially here in Oregon. So I think there's a big uphill battle for Republicans. Why do I say that? Because I think that's where we see instances like potential walkouts. That's where we see them trying to move a tax issue to a November ballot versus a May ballot to try to turn out more folks that may get those Republican numbers up or get non-affiliated voters to come in and actually check a box on their side. So that's just a quick political overview, but I think that's what's going on. That's why I think we may, to Councilor Nordyke's point, we may see another walkout here in the next few days. And again, as long as you're under that 10 number, it's okay. Now,
Right.
people will still use that in campaigns if they did walk out again. But again, are those optics worth it if they can get to the end game of turning out more Republicans in November?
I'm just curious, of the Republican senators, some of them are already, they're already barred, right? So
Correct. Senator
there's no
Thatcher,
further-
exactly.
there's no further harm to Senator Thatcher. I don't mean to single her out. She's just the one I remember offhand. She's local. Are there any other Republican senators in the same boat as her?
Yeah, and I can't, without looking at a list, there are a few others like,
There are a few. That's fine. That's
Right,
sufficient.
Senator Hayden from, down south, he's in that same boat. There's one other, I mean, it's tricky, but again, it's strategic. So would I be shocked to see another walkout this afternoon or Monday afternoon? Probably not.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't.
Nobody
genuinely
does.
know. Nobody does, except the people sitting in that caucus room, and they might not even know yet, right? All it takes is somebody getting sideways and
Right.
talks will be off. And unfortunately, it's not, again, you guys have heard me say this a million times. It's not like the old days. It's not like the minority leader and the Senate president are sitting down, especially in our case where we have both from Salem. They just don't communicate very well with each other.
That's unfortunate.
And maybe that's due to newer folks in leadership. Maybe that's due to just different goals and objectives. But the communication between that middle office, which is the governor's office, and the Senate and the House has really just not been what it has been in the past. And I think that's more of a reflection of today's political environment, whether at the federal level, state level, or even local levels. But we just gotta find a way to move forward. I mean, we can't use those as excuses for not accomplishing things. So that's why we continue to ring that bell and keep on message as much as we can, and making sure that our delegation and all of you around this table, our elected officials, are all on the same message with the same clear path. So
Fair enough.
it's the most we can do.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Moving on to action items. Courtney, are you taking this?
Yes, so we have two bills in your packet for review today. The bills that we reviewed last week are scheduled to be on your council agenda Monday night, and we will add whatever you'd like to move forward to that agenda Monday night as well. There are two bills. One has to do with compensation for unused paid time off. We have some concerns about the impact to the organization if there is a lot of leave that's collected and then paid out at time of separation. We're also concerned about how that might incent employees to take less time off. And we know that work-life balance is a key priority. We talk about that a lot here inside the organization. So for those two reasons, we're recommending an opposition. Michelle, do you want to speak any more to that?
I think you covered it. Thank you, Courtney, unless anyone has any questions.
I don't have questions. If it were up to me, I would be in support of this, but I understand the city's position. So I just want to get my personal position out there. Thank you.
I would support it too. However, I'm representing the organization today.
That's why I'm distinguishing.
Yeah.
Personally, that's how I feel, but
In this
That's all
job,
I
I
say
thought
on that.
PERS was really bad.
yeah.
And then I had a personal meeting about PERS. So it wasn't quite as bad. Anyway, so that's the first bill. We can take the slate if you want, or you can take them individually. We're looking for some sense about whether the committee would like to forward that position on to council. Do you want?
And
to
just,
take this?
pardon me, Courtney, just so folks know, the league did testify as concerned. OBI testified as concerned as well. So that opposition has been put out there.
Yeah.
Would you like to take the slate of bills, or do you want to sit with this one? How would you all like to proceed?
Anybody have any input?
I agree with opposition.
Ms. Nishioka, any thoughts?
So I would also say personally, not, but I'll agree. I'll agree with the consensus of the group. Tough
I
one.
just assumed I'd be outnumbered on that one, so I'm not going to raise a further fuss about it.
This is also another example. If because of the compressed time frame, something doesn't happen, if they're not able to make the fixes to get all the input that they want, this is something that we will see again in 2027. So at least we'll be prepared. We can have that dialogue throughout the interim on how we'll approach this in 2027 as well. But as of right now, you obviously got some big heft and weight behind it with trial lawyers, with School Employees Association, Representative Nelson. But there is also some industry opposition. So whether this gets across the finish line, we don't know yet. I'll try my best to be able to tell, but something that even if it doesn't go this time, I think we'll be seeing it in the future.
So I think we have general consensus. Okay.
So we'll put this one in the council's packet for as a recommendation to oppose from the committee. Okay,
That's fine. You can register my no vote, but if we wanted to vote on it, but I don't know if we need to do a formal vote, but that's where I stand on it personally. I've said enough, I think, on the record. Thank you.
okay. The next bill is Senate Bill 1541. You've heard some testimony about it already. This is a bill that would establish a climate super fund cost recovery program. And it aligns with our climate action plan. And if it's okay with everyone, I would ask Juliana Douglas to speak a little bit more to the city's position on that.
Yeah, of course. So this would establish a fund and an interagency response to charge fossil fuel companies for the climate impacts resulting from greenhouse gas emissions between 1995 and 2024. And the fund would be utilized for climate change adaptation, mitigation, and resiliency efforts. And those would enable the city to be eligible to receive funds for actions such as infrastructure improvements, as well as resiliency and adaptation measures. Currently, the costs are incurred by individuals, local government, state government, and federal government. So this would kind of be internalizing the previously externalized costs associated with the pollution from greenhouse gas and fossil fuels. And then this would only be for fossil fuel businesses that are responsible for over 1 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. And that's a global accounting. So it aligns with the City Council's environmental policy statement on climate action. And this would be supporting the commitment to investing in evidence-based technologies and dedicating additional revenue to support adaptation and resilience efforts. Thank you, Juliana. Very good.
So Juliana, my understanding is because the threshold is set at $1 billion, there are no actual Oregon businesses who would be on the hook for paying this,
It's
right?
not $1 billion. It's 1 billion metric tons.
Oh, excuse me, 1 billion metric tons. Are there any Oregon businesses that have produced 1 billion metric tons to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, no, but I have not gone into that account.
It doesn't include any, it's only drillers, mines, and refiners.
I mean, I had received some indication that it would not, but anyway.
If you're trying to think of like what possible projects we have that could be eligible for this, so for instance, some of the climate change impacts that City of Salem is likely to experience include drought and flooding. And so that would be something like River Road project. There are other things that we are looking to do for resilience planning. So those are things that like further down the road, if this was enacted, we could be eligible for.
Well, that sounds pretty good to me. Are there any downsides to supporting this bill that you found?
Just so we have like a national context, similar bills have been passed, Vermont included, and that one is under litigation as expected. So that would probably delay any implementation, just understanding that this is not non-contentious.
So how much money are we talking about?
The financial impact statements from the legislature waived meetings don't have any indication of that. There are some estimates that put it pretty high, but I don't have any.
And what are the potential negative impacts in finding those companies? Like, what's the opposition? Is it, I mean, if they're not probably just going to write a check, they're going to make us pay for it down the road at some point.
There are conversations, I'm not an economist, but there are conversations about how flexible the willingness to pay for fossil fuels is moving forward. So yes, there are down the road impacts of what the costs would be, but there's also conversations that people aren't going to be willing to pay to have that pass on to them when the shareholders are making significant excesses.
Any questions? Councilor Nishioka, go ahead.
Oh, you're
You're muted.
Thank you. I looked this one up this morning and I see that it was that there's been a recommendation to do pass with amendments. Does anyone know what those amendments are? And I think that happened on February 12th.
I've got a little summary about these dash twos.
No, go ahead.
I didn't bring
All right, you ready for these, Counselor?
I'm ears wide open.
Says the -2s were adopted, transfers authority from DLCD to the LCDC to provide grants for loan projects, replaces DLCD's prior authority to disperse those funds, shifts responsibility for developing, adopting, implementing, and periodically updating the resilience implementation strategy from DLCD over to LCDC, and updates project funding procedures from the fund dispersal to the establishments of standards for grant and loan awards. Requires coordination with Oregon Health Authority for development of the resilience implementation strategy and completion of the assessment, and requires consultation with the 9 federally recognized tribes for development of the strategy. Also dedicates 30% of funds to the Community Risk Reduction Fund and a portion of funds for grants to the tribes.
Okay, there we go.
Just moving who's responsible.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And adding specific consultation. Are
And
there any other questions?
I'm looking up the fiscal impact statement at the moment.
It is definitely moving quickly. Everything is moving so quickly.
Yes.
Not just it.
No, everything in the short session, everything.
So it doesn't give a number to Juliana's point. There's no number given in the fiscal impact, largely because, which makes sense, because they're creating a fund from scratch. So there's no prior data, but it would, just to reiterate, establish the Superfund cost recovery program and would fund climate resilience projects, hold responsible parties liable for climate related costs, and so on. But it says a more complete fiscal analysis will be prepared as the measure is considered in the next committee. So they don't have a final number just yet. But anyway, I mean, I feel that given the fact that it aligns with our climate action plan, which was created with bipartisan support, and given the fact that it could provide us with revenue that we've long desired. I can't tell you how many times we've gone to the legislature to request money for the River Road mitigation project. I've been on legislative committee for several years. It's been a priority for a long time. We've never gotten that funding. That in and of itself would be a major win, but it sounds like there are other potential projects that we could fund. So I mean, this sounds really positive from what I'm hearing and from the testimony we received and what I'm researching here.
Counselor Nishioka, did you have
yes, thank you again. Yes, I'm in full support of this, and it sounds like it will still take quite a bit of time to get established and managed, but I would be in support of this.
I've got a couple of basic questions. Justin, maybe you can help me with. Is this one of those things that spends capital? You know, if we put time and energy into this, are we using?
That's a tough question for me, Madam Mayor. To me, I see it as being prepared. And again, we heard the testimony earlier, the testimony that I saw in the hearing, all about prep, you know, what's going to happen, you know, why is that slide mitigation so necessary on the road? If we get a natural disaster, whether that's earthquake or fire, we're going to be in trouble, right? So I see this as really trying to lay the foundation, mirrored on what New York and Vermont have done, to be prepared when and if these things happen. I still think there's so much that's unknown, Juliana. I wouldn't know that, but I think there's so much that's unknown about this. It's nice that we're trying to be prepared and get in that position, but there's still a lot of unknowns out there. But being prepared is, you know, is never a bad option.
And it is consistent with the climate action plan and other guidance that we've had from the climate action committee.
When I hear the word litigation, I just get like, we're stuck. So Vermont has poured energy into this and time and probably money. And so has New York, it sounds like. And do we really want to pick that up right now?
And it's a great question that the legislature can consider, you know, the weights, the costs and the benefits of advancing
Okay.
And it's not done.
Mhm.
There will be more conversation, more communication if it survives today,
Mhm.
the deadline today.
Mhm.
Madam Mayor, I would point out that any litigation, fear of litigation is like fear of the thing itself. I would be cautious about just fearing the possibility of litigation, because if you want to do that, there's plenty of reasons for any of our bills to go sideways. There's always a possibility of litigation. But I would say this is a state-created law. So the city of Salem, Dan, is not going to be litigating this case.
No,
It would be, if anything, it would be the Oregon Department of Justice, and they have exceptional lawyers there.
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And I guess my greater concern is where as a state, we're pouring our time and energy. And what is our priority right this minute? And we have crises of other kinds that we're dealing with. And I just want to make sure that we're making wise decisions for where we're at now, even if it aligns with our climate action plan, if that makes sense. So right this minute, I'm not in favor of this one, but only because I'm deep into the bigger issues and focusing time, energy, and resources for the greatest need at this time.
We haven't heard from Counselor Gwen. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, and on this one, we're just watching it, right? So there's nothing for us to really do at this time, is there?
Unless we wanted to switch it from watch to support.
Yeah, I'm not interested in doing that.
All right. Okay.
So
It probably won't advance out of committee without, out of this committee. There's no direction. So it
we're
would
just
just come as a committee recommendation.
okay.
Okay. So we'll advance, House Bill 4094, noting somehow, you're not supportive of the city's position for House Bill 4094.
Mhm.
And we will not be advancing, Senate Bill 1541 right now. If it's okay with you, I'd like to move on to the two follow-up items. Last time the committee met, there were two questions of staff to prepare for today. One was some kind of a letter of support about transportation funding. And the second was a summary of all of the bills that may be proposed to try to work through some of the immigration enforcement concerns that many have in our community and across the state. So if it's okay with you, we'll first focus on the transportation letter. I drafted a letter that tried to emphasize an interest in coming up with a solution, retaining the split that's so important to cities, local governments, for the gas tax, and asked for a seat at the table so that we could remain engaged in the conversation. There's a lot in there about our need that is well known to us, and so there's a lot of evidence of our need for maintenance dollars. And then there's a short paragraph about our primary concern being affordability for our community. So whatever solution is brought forward would need to be considering the impact on individuals. And then it sort of ends with looking forward to 2027 as a possibility for solution and involving more meaningful bipartisan outreach and engagement. So that is the draft of the letter before you. We're welcome to have comments, questions. We can alter it in any way. Staff's main responsibility was to return a letter for your consideration. And if you'd like, we could advance it to council for their consideration.
Well, Courtney, I want to commend you. I think you have walked the tightrope with this, which is exactly what we had asked for. You have a real gift for this. I'm really impressed. I think you've done an excellent job explaining both what our need is and our mindfulness of the affordability challenges that our residents face. And I really appreciate the cherry picking use of stats, because that you could throw so many stats in the letter, but instead the two stats that really stand out to me 37% of Salem households pay more than 30% of their income on housing. And over half of our renters experience cost burden at 51%, meaning they're spending most of their income just to stay indoors. So I think that's a really discreet and well executed surgical use of stats to really hit home. So I had no notes. I think it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
I see a thumbs up from Counselor Gwynn. And a coughing from Counselor Nishigoka. Not sure what that one means. There we go. I think the transportation bill as it currently stands, it's not something I support, and I think it's going to go down in flames. So I think that this letter sets the right tone and just urges them to work together, find a solution.
Do you have any comments?
No, just a little PTSD. That's all.
Understood. So if there are no comments or questions about the letter, would you like us to forward it to council for consideration? Okay, I'm seeing thumbs. Good, okay. We'll advance that. The last bit is about the bills that are currently active regarding immigration enforcement activities. And I want to just also notice today's a big deadline, so some of these things may not stay under consideration. And it was, I think at Councilor Brown's request, we were bringing this report forward, so we will meet again next week. If you would like to pause, but I'll walk through the memo a little bit and just illustrate some of the issues that are up for consideration. And what I was hoping to get today was more input from you about how you want to show up around these issues, not any specific bills, but just whether you want to consider a position in general, or you want to just have more awareness. I wasn't really sure the purpose of the exercise. So what I'm bringing to you is all of the bills that are currently active.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
If it's was Counselor Brown's request, should we do this without him? Or should we wait for him to return?
It's really up to the committee. I'll take any direction. Anyone have a thought?
I'd like to at least walk through them. As Courtney points out, we're gonna know in a matter of days which ones of these have legs. So I would be in favor of watching, number one, because half of these might be on the cutting room floor in a few days anyway. And number two, because Counselor Brown's not here. And since this was something you brought up, I do think we need to be mindful of that, because the state emergency that we declared included some direction on our position on ICE-related legislation. So I do think we, under the declaration that the city passed, we have at least we need to at least take a look at these. I don't want to be seeing them for the first time next week, you know?
Well, and Counselor Brown can watch later.
That's true.
Okay. Councilor Gwynn, you came off mute. Was there something you wanted to add to this conversation? Okay. All right, so as of the 17th of February, there are 10 bills that remain active. Sorry? Uh-oh. I don't know what it is.
Unable to sign.
It's still pushing to YouTube. So I think we're okay. I'm just gonna proceed.
Okay.
And you're gonna say, don't proceed at any moment.
If it's working and pushing to YouTube, and counselors, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay. So there are 10 bills that remain active. And there's a memo that outlines all of the bills. House Bill 4091 is specific to the Oregon National Guard. And it generally prohibits others from entering Oregon, other National Guards from entering Oregon, and restrains how the Oregon National Guard can be used. Then House Bill 4111 has a lot to do with about court proceedings. And there's a lot of details there, but it's specific to immigration status and protections for immigration status in court proceedings. There's another bill, House Bill 4138, and it relates specifically to how law enforcement agencies operating in Oregon would be restrained from the use of facial coverings. There is House Bill 4171, which is essentially a study bill related to immigration. Senate Bill 1570 is about protections at healthcare facilities. Senate Bill 1587 is specific to data brokers as it relates to federal immigration law and enforcement. And then Senate Bill 1594 is specific about to Department of Justice developing policies about immigration enforcement in public facilities, specific to schools, health facilities, courthouses, shelters, and public facilities. And there is the joint resolution 203, again relating to masks and for law enforcement, and also specific making their purpose more visible in their attire. And then there are two education specific bills that we've included just for your awareness about education properties and so schools. So those are the bills that are still alive as of today. Again, we expect a deadline today, so there may be some that are dropping off, but those are the kinds of things that the legislature is currently discussing to try to mitigate some of the fear and concerns that people living in Oregon.
So what do you need from us on this?
Well, I was charged with coming back to prepare a memo so that everyone knew what was being considered in the legislature. And it sounded from this conversation that you wanted awareness today and then an opportunity to reconsider any of the bills that are still alive next Friday. And we hope that Councilor Brown can be present for the conversation.
Madam Mayor and
Yeah.
Courtney, if I can, I think in my notes, I have two specific bills. 4138, sorry to put you on the spot, Trevin, but 4138 and 203.
Yes.
I don't know. Does he want to get anything on the table? If not, no big deal. Nikki just told me, hey, Trevin might have some issues with this stuff.
Well, and Trevin, I wonder if you have any awareness about where the Association of Chiefs of Police may be on those bills about masks for law enforcement.
Yeah, I'll start with Senate Joint Resolution 203. That one has substantially changed from the first portion of it, and that is a joint resolution to be sent to voters. I'm not exactly sure. I just all of these got amendments, and I'm just trying to review them this morning. So trying to kind of go back over. That's how fast things are going. So that one now, I believe, simply states that the people of Oregon shall be free from secret police. For us, that's pretty broad as a constitutional amendment. It doesn't define what secret police is or say who will enforce that. So yet to be seen, but that should be pushed out to voters. So there's a few issues that would come from that, just practically speaking. And then what was the other one, Justin, you were asking about?
4138. Which is
so I was
Also
just
recently amended, so sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, trying to kind of keep track of that one. That one has had a lot of amendments and discussion. Essentially for 4138. Oh, hold on, where'd that one go for me?
And while he's looking it up, Justin, is there more time for more amendments to these?
Yeah, I would imagine. Yes, a lot of them are waiting second readings in the House, in the Senate. Some of them are sitting down on ways. I mean, I think they'll probably end up with just a kind of an immigration package overall. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Trevin, but Nikki did say to me as I was walking out the door, make sure that council knows that Trevin does have a little heartburn over, or wants us to keep an eye on these two specific.
Yeah, and 4114 is the other one that is
essentially what has occurred since California faced some legal constraints was that legislation couldn't specifically point out federal enforcement or out-of-state enforcement. So in order to pass judicial scrutiny, the idea is that it would have to be all-encompassing of all law enforcement, including state and local. With that, it kind of creates a burden now upon state and local, and some of it is very broad, and so I believe would create some legal challenges if applied. Quite a bit of it is really kind of stating that if things occur, then the public can sue or create injunctions against a department for not posting policy. So unknown if that will create, for City Attorney Weinstein there, quite a few legal actions taken against all law enforcement. And a lot of them are overlapping. 4138 does talk about identification. We're really ahead of that curve since that came up during the George Floyd issues, where we would have to have identifying indicia upon us, a badge, name, or an identifying number. We've been complying with that for 2 or 3 years, so it really doesn't affect us there. Ones that if you get a little deeper into, I believe that one, and that's what I'm trying to get down to because I know it changed, was some of our partnerships with federal law enforcement, not with ICE, but with ATF, FBI, DEA, things of that nature, that require them to attest to that they aren't going to be violating any kind of civil rights. And that it seems a little bit awkward in how that's prescribed, that we would have to have them actually sign things in order to get us to discuss it or to cooperate with them, even though we've already got partnerships with them and task forces where we're working on that.
So Trevin, I think part of what you're articulating is that there have been quite a few amendments and we aren't exactly sure how we would operationalize some of the things that are being discussed or entertained right now. And I don't think we're finished, right? I mean, there's the possibility of additional amendments. There's going to be a lot more testimony. I think waiting through the end of the day to see whether any of these are still there. I think 4114 is gone already. I don't think it's still active, the one that you were just speaking of. So I think this just really illustrates how the pace of the short session is a little crazy making, and there are a lot of big ideas that they're trying to work through in this short time. So I think what we could do is see what happens at the end of today, which bills remain, and then we'll just update this memo, and it will only be as good as the day we write it, because there are going to be more amendments. And so maybe what we should really do next time we get together is lead off with a conversation of the amendments and where the bills are on February 27th.
So you can just,
okay.
you can read through all those this weekend, Trevin, that'll be great.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
just-
And then
I will
away
just
from all the change Monday.
I will clarify too, Trevin, do not get upset with Nikki. I got the full on, all caps text message says I did not say that. So I misheard that when I was walking out the door. So Trevin's mad at me, now Nikki's mad at me, and Colby's mad at me. So
I'm mad at
and then-
nobody. I'm mad at nobody. Maybe I was a little
either.
upset when Nikki emailed me 5 things about an hour before this meeting to review. So
All right, hopefully I didn't put you on the spot.
We'll just focus on what is most up to date when we regroup on the 27th, because I think there is a lot that is subject to change. So we'll be more prepared and up to date when we gather this.
Sounds perfect sense, yeah. Wait and see.
Okay, so I'm going to go right back to the desk and put the House Bill 4094 and the draft transportation funding letter into your packet for Monday night as an addition. And then you'll have everything from last week and from this week that's moving forward as a recommendation from this committee. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else, anyone? Then we are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Who was at the proper on screen?
Oh my
Anna
God.
Johansson?